Hey y'all, good Tuesday evening to you. I decided to get the animals fed before the live this evening, so it wouldn't be quite as crazy. Tank's all situated. I think he likes it in there. He don't even really try to get out anymore. Well, here we are on a Tuesday. I've got to say I'm just absolutely humbled and overwhelmed with all the support for the channel. And all of you that are subscribing, thank you so much. Had an influx in increased subscriptions over the last couple of weeks, and just humbled and awed. So I've got to get busy and keep creating the content, I suppose, for that. Actually, I don't create the content. He creates it. I just observe it and share it. So that's probably the best content creator you can have. He's been doing it quite a while. Father's Day's coming up. We've been talking a lot about it here on the channel, and I thought this week I might do a few extra lives, and I'm blessed to still have my father with me, and role model and good friend all my life. I've known him all my life. How about that? He hadn't known me all his, but but he raised us right, raised us justly, and reminded me of a proverb. I believe it's chapter 20, verse 7, I think. The just man walketh in his integrity, and his children are blessed after him. So Kimberly and I have sure been blessed with the father we have. I hope you celebrate yours this weekend. But I thought I'd do kind of a look back. You know, those of you with godly parents or just parents overall, they always had these sayings or these things that really stick out in your mind that molded and made you who you are today. And there's several, I mean, there's countless lessons and examples I've seen from my father over my life, but a few of them come to mind. I thought I might share those this week from time to time, maybe a couple more lives before the actual day we celebrate it. I'm always funny about Hallmark holidays because I think you need to celebrate it every day of the year, but we do set it aside to make a special observance to let them know how important they are. Today I think it's about friends, and we'll get into that in a minute, but as I was thinking that through, we just observed D-Day. And that's the thing about history, y'all. I guess there's some that would try to rewrite it or reframe it at all, but facts speak for themselves. That was a time of sheer evil across the map of this old planet. And some of us study it, some of us know the real deal. I believe it was the deadliest war in history with there's different estimates, but it's agreed upon at least 70 million people died, and 70% of that number, 50 million, were citizens, and a lot of those were Jewish and wiped out by genocide from an evil tyrant. But thinking about D-Day and when we got involved in that ugly battle over the sea, there's somebody that's always really stuck out to me, and her little ministry, big ministry actually, her testimony, her life, her struggles, it helps me to understand why I don't need to complain. Kind of like the other day when I was shared the video, and hate to do it sometimes, and it's not any glory to me because we all do things, but we see all the negative. Why can't we share some good stuff, you know? And as I'm coming back from doing that pool the other day, of course, y'all know the story. I saw the man mowing with the cane. The backstory to that is my foot, I hurt it last week with a fall, and then had a splinter in it, and it's just aggravating me. It's hard to walk on, but I'm fine. And that was one of the first days I kind of went back to work and kind of getting things done. It was aching and hurting, and I'm just belly aching to myself how I wish it wasn't hurting. And I look over, and there's a man on a cane mowing the yard. And I'm like, well, there's a hole. There goes my foot again. And I'm like, well, my goodness, what am I complaining about, right? But that's the thing about it. June 6, 1944, Corrie ten Boom and her sister Betsy were locked up in a Gestapo prison near The Hague, there in the Netherlands. Little did they know, just about 420 miles south of there, stood an army coming ashore to liberate that country and finally defeat the Nazis and the evil that they brought on. As time progressed, as the war kept dragging on, they moved Corrie and her sister to a camp called Ravensbrück, if my German's right, and there they remained for several months. The story goes in her book, The Hiding Place. This just blows my mind. I can relate to this a little bit in the fact of what we're about to talk about. I've got dogs, y'all. We've got country going on here. It's sandy soil. And I remember even as a kid, Mama used to battle them silly fleas. They don't just get infested in there. It's not that bad. But we do have to battle them. And with Sissy going in and out of the house, thank goodness there's no carpet in there. And use all the home remedy tricks we can. But sometimes you got to bring out the big guns and just get them gone. And with D-Day and that, I'm reminded of that story. Her and Betsy, her sister, arrived at this horrible concentration camp and were thrown into the barracks. The Lord smiled favor on them, and they were able to smuggle a Bible into the barracks. But it was absolutely overrun with fleas and lice. Upon their arrival, Betsy had a strong faith. She did end up dying in that horrible concentration camp environment. Corey Ten Boom went on to be released on a clerical error of all things. There's a God wink. And was able to minister all across the country as she aged. And I believe she died at age 91 in 83. But to back up, when they arrived to that concentration camp, they did their daily devotional in the morning. And Betsy read 1 Thessalonians, I believe it's chapter 5, verse 16 or 17, talking about be thankful in all things. Guys, here they were, Jewish. Hitler's wiping your whole race out. He's got you locked up and your family's separated from you, and you're in a concentration camp in horrid conditions with fleas and lice, miserable. Well, Corey was faithful, but she questioned that. She said, Betsy, we can't thank God for the fleas. We can thank God that we're alive. We can thank God that we're together. We can thank God that we've got our Bible, but not the fleas. Betsy said, oh yeah, we're going to thank him for the fleas. So they did, and Corey just went along with it, but she questioned it. Lord, surely Lord wouldn't want us to thank him for the pestilence in this barracks. Well, as time marched on over the weeks, Corey began to notice that women would gravitate to that particular barracks, and the guards would let them in, and the guards would go away. And the crowd kind of grew in that barracks, and they were all able to meditate, pray, and study that Bible together. And it was only a little later that she really realized what was happening. You see, those hardcore Nazi soldiers saw them as filth, and they definitely wasn't going to go anywhere near that barracks that was overrun with lice and fleas. Therefore, it gave Corey and her sister a chance to minister amongst the tragedies that were going on around them. What a point, right? To thank God in all things, because we never know what he's working together on that embroidery for our own good, right? Well, I had to share that because I've really been thinking about that. But one of my dadisms, dad truths, that my sister and I can recount over our life and our adolescent years and acting up and just sowing wild oats and being wild. He never lost his love for us and just making silly decisions as kids do. But I remember so oftentimes that he tried to instill in us that birds of a feather flock together. You've all heard it. We've all heard it. So oftentimes, though, in life, we really don't understand the depth of that. And you're known by your friends, right? These days, my best friend, other than this earth, even on the earth, is Jesus Christ, right? And it's cool to have a friendship with him and not just a master-servant relationship, because he desires for us to commune with him and to bring everything to him in prayer. But on this earth, and I've got some really good friends, I hope you do too. If you are hanging around those of wise counsel, if that's who you interact with daily, they'll put a keen edge on your life, right? If they're smarter than you, wiser than you, more well-spoken, more caring, more kind, then that rubs off on you in a positive way. But the other side of that is true. If that person is of ill counsel, and maybe they just don't have things together. Maybe they're living kind of a riotous, wild lifestyle. Well, it's going to drag you down a little bit, and definitely it's going to dull your influence and your witness. So how do we reconcile those? Because we're here to witness and to help others along, and apparently the wise friends don't necessarily need it, do they? Well, the best way I can put it, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't for you, but if I had to explain it, it's kind of like fishing, right? So we go fishing, we don't spend all our time on the lake. Well, some folks do. I'd like to, it'd be fun. But we have to do other things. But while we're out there fishing, we are presenting to those fish, right? We're presenting to them different things that they might find tantalizing. Something that would attract them to come to your hook or your bait or whatever it might be. We don't get in their environment with them necessarily. We don't dive down in the water and try to catch them that way and hang out at the bottom of the lake with them. We simply enter their world and we try to lead them to our side with something that maybe would attract them until we can catch them and talk with them a little bit more. Of course, we know what happens to a fish, so we'll just let that go. But that's kind of what it is. You don't have to get into their environment deep, but you do have to reach out to them and be in the streets to help them and be an influence and to shine that light, right? That's just how it works. Well, I've rambled, didn't tell y'all to sound off in the comments. I guess most of y'all know to already do that, but I do enjoy reading. I think we've got folks in England and Australia, all over Texas, all over the United States, and so it's always cool to see that. This old corn ain't as tall as I've seen in the past. I have got some redirection to do next year. Let the old play. I was on a roll, and then a couple, 3 years ago, I kind of went another route and didn't farm quite as faithfully, if you would. But we're back on track, and I'm learning what not to do this year. So next year I'll go back to the old paths that I did to begin with. And this stuff, man, I'm telling you, I had it. It was at least 8-9 foot tall, just loaded with corn, and I hand planted all that one by one. This was done with a spreader and not quite as much care. We're gonna fix that next year, right? But thinking about friends and Dad's advice, I would absolutely adore any of y'all that have a story to share in the comments or even a message to the page. Any good advice that y'all have that I know you probably got tons, but something maybe your dad shared that really sticks out to you and really has molded your life and how you think about it. Dad and I was actually talking just a few moments ago, and I was asking him a few things about things and reminding him of things he had told us. He said, yeah, we just can't tell you when you're young, can we? I said, no, sir, I suppose not. But we both agree that usually the wisest man, the smartest man in the room is the one that's a little quieter, doesn't get riled up. He's even-keeled, soft-tempered, and quiet. It reminded me of a little story of a businessman that went into a barber shop. Sat down in the chair, and him and the barber struck up a pretty good little conversation and joking back and forth. And the barber said, I tell you what, you see that kid out front there on the sidewalk? He said, yes, sir. He said, let me show you something. That has got to be the most ignorant child I've ever met in my life. And the barber just talking. Well, the businessman, that kind of disturbed him. He said, well, now, why would you say that about that child? He said, watch, I'll show you. So he motioned to the kid to come in. He was standing there looking in. The little boy walked in the shop, and the barber went over to his register and pulled out 2 quarters and a $1 bill. And he presented them to the kid. He said, son, which one would you like today? 2 quarters or this $1 bill? The kid immediately grabbed the 2 quarters with a big smile and ran out of the shop. The barber looked at the businessman. See, I told you, he just doesn't have any sense. Doesn't understand. Well, that kind of disturbed the businessman, but he paid the barber and walked out on the street. He'd only gone about a block when he saw the kid coming out of an ice cream shop with a big old ice cream cone. He said, son, can I ask you a question? He said, yes, sir, as he's licking his ice cream. He said, why is it that you pick the 50 cents over the $1 when you're asked? he took a big old lick of his ice cream and smiled. He said, well, if I pick the dollar, the game's over. So maybe that kid was smarter than that barber thought, right? Because he's getting his ice cream every time. So that's how it goes, right? Sometimes we're best just to sit in the corner and observe and listen. I found it to be good for me, believe it or not, much as I talk on here. But I've always found myself, especially later in life, gravitating to those with wisdom and a lifestyle maybe that I would like to have. I hadn't heard of too many astronauts going just to biology class to learn how to get to the moon, right? I don't think that's how that works. You got to go to someone that can teach you. So if you see a lifestyle you want, and a lifestyle of happiness, not necessarily riches, but just happiness, and a walk with the Lord, maybe find some of those folks to hang around with. Rub off on you a little bit. Well, let me see who all's on real quick, and we'll call it an evening. We got rain threatening, a little light rain. We won't turn it down by any means. Let's see. I'm going to try to do it. Well, I'm going to have to do it with my spectacles. I already know. That's just how it goes. What do you think about it, Hank? Hank is finding his own here. But, oh, if this equipment y'all see, by the way, is not mine. This is family land. So I just have to look at that old boat over there and wish I could go, right? Oh, so don't be thinking that all of a sudden I fell into a windfall and buying all this, and none of that's mine. But we keep it in safe storage here. And between Sissy and Hank and the rest of the dogs and certain caliber in the house, I think it'll be safe right there. Okay, let's see. There's Deborah checking in from Michigan. Good to see you on. Who else is on here? Y'all sound off and we'll holler your name out. Alabama's here, Mr. Matthew Jones. So Jordan's out there in Alabama. He was my wingman here on the place. There's Miss Chris Neri from Georgia. Well, just came back from Georgia up in the Blue Ridge area. Let's see who else is on this evening. Lynn Taylor's in South Carolina. Boy, y'all just reading my mail tonight. Got a son in Alabama, daughter in South Carolina. I guess some kids telling everybody, huh? There's Miss Charlotte Roark, good friend out in Trinity, Texas. Oh, was I not supposed to say that? T-Town. Miss Jean Blankenship is checking in. Howdy to you. And there's Naomi Terry saying hello. All right. Well, I think we got everybody read off that's on here. We got a little tree work to do over there, y'all. How about that? That old tree fell down. Part of it did. But it's taking a rest right now because I'm taking a rest with this foot. So as soon as it's hoping I'm still limping so it can hang out a little longer. It knows when I go to walking straight forward, it's probably going to find its way going on wherever it's going, right? Kind of a cloudy night tonight. Don't see the sunset, but for me, that's kind of like the good Lord. Sometimes you don't see him in action necessarily, but don't mean he's not there. I know for a fact that sun's up there. I've seen proof of it too many times for a little cloud to hide it. It make me doubt it, right? Y'all have a good evening. Be the light, and thanks again for all the support and the shares and the comments. And y'all make the week count. We'll probably jump back on probably Thursday night, and we'll talk about antithesis. Some of y'all know what that means and how it relates. Another one of Dad's big sayings to me that really impacted me. And we'll talk a little bit about that. All right. Till then, y'all have a good week. Be the light. We'll talk to you later.